Hey everyone, Internet Vicious Book Reader here. Today I want to talk about Playground by Richard Powers. I just read Eliza Clark's She's Always Hungry, which I really enjoyed, but I didn't know that that was a short story collection. I thought it was a normal length novel like her other books, Boy Parts. So I wanted to read this book, which is a more full-length novel. Richard Powers is a veteran author who have written many books and have even won a Pulitzer Prize with his novel Overstory, but I never read his work before, so this will be my first experience with his writing. The story starts with the creation of the world, how Ta'aroa made Ta'aroa, how he then created an egg to hatch himself, and from those eggshells he made the foundation of the earth. With his tears he made ocean, lakes, and rivers, his spines become islands and mountains, his nails become the scales of fish and the shells of turtles, and his feathers become trees and bushes filled with birds, and with his blood the rainbow appears across the sky. Artists came to be on earth, and from earth material they sculptured Tane, the god of forest and peace and beauty and crafting. They also made all kind of other gods, patient, angry, judgmental, understanding. But Tane is the one who completed all things by separating day and night with her creation of the sun and the moon. And with that, Taaroa concluded his game by separating people into 7 layers and adding humans into the bottom so they can figure things out by themselves as Taaroa watches. That is the creation belief of Society Island of French Polynesia, a collective of islands in France. This is where one of our main characters, Ina Aroita, lives with her family in an island called Makatea. She lives there with her husband, Rafi Young, and their 2 adopted children, their son Ava and their daughter Hariti. She was on a journey with Hariti at the beach to find material to make art when her daughter started crying. She saw a dead body of an albatross. The bird obviously has been there quite a while, and almost everything about the bird has rotted and decayed, except for what's inside the bird chest, a collective of various plastic that it accidentally ate. Ina took the various items from the bird and decided to make something out of it. Then they buried it on the beach before resuming their journey down the beach. Meanwhile, in Manhattan somewhere, Evie Bullion tells a different story of her family. She was a rich heiress of a company that is starting to lose her memory, but she remembered being born out of a mother who doesn't want to have children, and she remembered them fighting all the time. Is their twisted form of communication? She's glad that she's at least sorry that she had the option to just leave them to a house near the lake where she can spend her time underwater, where she can breathe, not just figuratively, but literally breathe underwater. Another very different character Todd grew up relatively close with his father playing board games like Truth and Letters, but it was in backgammon where he started building a talent of seeing the ebb and flow of how the game will progress through actual visual hallucination, where the board wheel looks like a chart that goes up and down depending on how the game will go depending on where the pieces was placed. With this new ability, Todd win a game against his father, which turned into a best 3 out of 5 games, where if Todd wins, his father promised that he will get him any book that he wanted in a bookstore. He fought hard against his obviously older father, who took the game a bit too seriously. Only in the 5th game, and when the time comes for him to choose his book, he chooses a book about ocean because he liked looking at the red-headed diver in the cover that looks so fulfilled. He is now a 57-year-old billionaire that is the top 500 from the top 1%, but that book that started his obsession with the ocean still affects him so much that he decided that he will be buried at the sea, especially since he was diagnosed with dementia with Lewy bodies. Back to Makatea, Ina have been having nightmares harassed by the god Maui. It doesn't matter which Maui it is, but it keeps disturbing her sleep. Rafi had to be the one who wakes her up, which reverses their usual role where Rafi is the one who had to be waken up from his nightmare. Rafi grew up in Chicago where his dad is a firefighter who usually punches his wife daily and then claimed that it is for her sake that he did that. His mother eventually managed to get away from her abusive husband, bringing Rafi away with her, but the event often comes to him as nightmare. He will eventually move to Makatea himself where he married Ina. Makatea itself is one of the many islands that become the victim of French colonization. To make matter worse, Makatea was one of the islands where phosphate was found, a mineral that is used in many industries, especially in farming, because its function as fertilizer feed the consumption of many countries. The phosphate mining will turn a big chunk of the small island to jagged holes and contaminate its water, eventually killing any chance of civilization on the island. Right now, only 82 people live on the island, including Ina, Rafi, and their 2 children. Another one of its inhabitants was its current mayor, Didier Toury, who is on a phone call with a representation of the president of French Polynesia. Growing up, Didier has always hated politics. He did not even study history or politics, and in his youth, he would rather play football than stay in school. But when the previous mayor died and his son did not take the mantle, it fell into TTR to become the new mayor, and he is currently trying to deal with a far worse white people than the French and the Australian, the American. They wanted to build a port there since there is no way of stopping them. After a full day of trying to find answer with his friend, he decided to at least negotiate a term on this new form of colonization. The story of the book is definitely slow burn. We are so close to 50 pages and still there is no overarching plot on where the story might lead to yet. But as you read, it becomes clearer that these characters that are so unlike each other might have some sort of connection with one another. And there are points in the story where we knew that their story might not be at the same time as each other. Evie, for example, who we now know that she breathed underwater using early diver equipment her father made, was most likely the red-headed diver that taught Red when he was a child. And in one way or another, the sea, the ocean, tied all of the characters. The Arawatirs that created lake, river, and the ocean, Ina, Didier, and their family who live in an island surrounded by its sound. Rafi's only time seeing his had-to-be-tough father cried was watching a lake, a place that he said is the only safe haven for him being a black man living in America at the time. Evie would rather spend her life under the sea rather than over them. While I enjoyed a lot of the story, its storytelling has slight issue with the pacing. Again, using Evie as an example, one of her stories is just long description of fishes that she encountered while diving. It brings almost nothing to the story. It does connect her character to the sea more, but it went on and on for so long, at which point you are less reading about Evie and more about sea creatures. What makes the story great at the end is the life of the characters. Rafi Young, for example, how he struggled with the pressure of myth of black excellence at home, the jealousy from people who are not as talented or as smart as he was or get the chance that he get, the tragic loss of his younger sister, how he eventually befriended Todd at his fifth school by playing chess with him, and Todd how he became friends with the only black student at his school, and how in his old dementia-riddled mind, the only person and friendship he cared about when he looked back is this black student who competed with him in chess. How Evie grew from a timid girl who got forced to use his father's untested diving gear to become a force of nature that can talk back in her teacher at university who she knows was wrong, how she had to face the difficulty of having a meaningful relationship with a partner for going on a sea organism research adventure 1 year at a time, and how she eventually became an ambassador for ocean life protection, fighting against the people who want to destroy them for money at the governmental level, and how she ended up in Makatea at 92 still diving the ocean there. And that's how she got involved with America trying to take the Small Island for their trading project. And with her, almost every character that's been introduced so far ended up in Magatea, except right now for Todd. But we know he's Rafi's friend before life made them go into a different direction in the harshest way possible. And right now he's just busy dealing with this newfound disease and how to deliver the news to his company, Playground, the title of the book, where he is researching another form of immortality. And this is not even halfway through the story, but I think it's easy to see where the story is going, which is all the characters eventually helping the island of Makatea. A lot of the story is well written, and I can see this becoming some people's favorite book, but for me, a big chunk of it is a case of too much of a good thing. There's a ton of characters that we follow closely by changing point of view to them, telling the story from their childhood until they are adults and even old, and there are also a lot of characters that are introduced and detailed once or twice, like the mayor of Makatea Didier and some other characters from the island, or the people or main characters met during their lifetimes. But they make the pacing of the story so slow. A lot of the non-main characters with long background feels a little bit like a long exposition to introduce them. You have a lot of free time with nothing to do in your life except for reading. I'm sure this will make for a good read on a slow day. And a lot of it is worth it because the journey and the ending of the game, how the characters deal with the weight that life gave to them, the cast they were dealt with, is one of the most touching end of any fiction I've read this year. I give this a 3.5. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.